Hello, I'm Paul Gabriel and welcome to yet another edition of GE13 The Showdown. Things are getting very interesting indeed with nomination day just days away, and since the dissolution of Parliament, today, April 16th, the Barisan Nasional has announced its candidates for the general election, and PKR, PAS and DAP have also been announcing their lineups on a staggered basis. With me today is Datuk Seri Wong the Group Chief Editor of The Star, who has just come back from a very interesting trip to Gelang Patah, and he has written about it today in his column. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Well, it has been a very anxious 24 hours for the Barisan Nasional, especially for the aspiring candidates. After 3 years of hard work, the Prime Minister has finally made his pick and his choice. And what do you make of his mix of new and young candidates?
It is interesting because that if you look at the figures that he has given, for parliamentary seats, 1/3 are new faces. That's almost 33%. And if you look at the states, we're talking about 505 seats. That's a lot, okay? 49% or half of them are new faces. I think this is part of the transformation that he's talking about. Because when you talk about transformation, it is not good enough if you're merely talking about transformation for economic and development plans. He needs to talk about transformation within the party. I think the expectations from the voters have become stronger over the years. They want their candidates not just to be able to serve and to do grassroots work, but to be able to articulate themselves. You expect their candidates to have some formal education, and that so changing and putting new faces is just part of the transformation program that he needs to emphasize on. If you look at it, that within the PKR, look at PKR, they have actually put up something like over 50% new faces.
Right.
So all parties have actually looked at their candidates, potential candidates, and put in this process of putting fresh faces, because it's going to be a really exciting election.
See, the 13th G is also going to be interesting. If you see the shake-up in the states, Menteri Besars moving to the parliament level, namely in Johor, you see that happening in Malacca as well. Do you think this is the correct strategy for the Barisan Nasional?
It's interesting because that I just came back from Gelang Patah. It's been confirmed today that Ghani Othman is going to contest against Siang. So all the speculations that we have been talking about and the press love this big fight is confirmed. It is important because that it's a right strategy, because that for Ghani, he's an experienced man. He's a non-controversial figure. He does not make any racial statements. And for him to take on Siang would be a right move from state to parliament, because he would de-racialize, if there's such a word, for the politics in Johor. And if you look at Mukris is also going, Mukris Mahathir, he's going from parliament to state, giving him this special role of leading the charge for the Barisan Nasional in Kedah, and be the so-called game changer against PAS, who is holding the seat. So this is something that's a little bit unusual, and in some cases almost unprecedented for those of us who have been covering the past few elections, because there's also Rustam, who is going, Rustam, the Chief Minister of Malacca, who is moving from state to parliament. I think that this is a new strategy to give these people, they have the experience to lead the charge, and at the same time providing new faces at the state level. I think it's quite a good move.
The Prime Minister has also taken the bold move of dropping several established names in his cabinet. Namely, you saw yesterday the announcement that Datuk Rais Yatim will not be contesting in Jelebu, and we saw the MCA also not naming Dr. Ng Yen Yen for Raub. Do you think they are in the right direction?
I think that, as I said earlier, transformation is necessary. People like Rais Yatim, he's 70 over. You have Noh Yaakob, who is 66, if I'm not mistaken. Then you have Ng Yen Yen. These people have served and done their duties for the nation, and I think that it's about time they pass the baton to the younger people. Succession planning should not just take place in corporates and private companies, but also in political parties, and that this is necessary so they can move on with what they're doing. And obviously they are pretty good in their job. They can always serve in various capacities, but we must always make way for the young so they can move on.
We will take a short break and we will resume with more questions on GE13 with Dr. Sri Wong. Thank you for staying with us. We are back with Dr. Sri Wong Chun Wai and GE13. Dr. Sri, I want to refer you to the MCA candidates list, which was given to the press yesterday evening. We saw 33% new faces and 49, I think overall the Barisan Nasional named 33% for new faces for Parliament, 49% for state. A large chunk of this is from the MCA. And the party has dropped some established faces and brought in some new faces, and also brought in back veteran leaders, namely Yap Yan Hon in Serdang. Do you think this strategy is going to work for the MCA?
It's really interesting because that if you look at how the names of the list, the president himself is not contesting. If you do the calculation, there are two vice presidents who are also not contesting. You have Datuk Sri Ng Yan, then you have Gan Ping Siu, two vice presidents who are not on the list. Then you have a former president, Ong Ti Kiat, who is also not on the list. And another former president, Ong Ka Teng, is also not on the list. So there's actually quite a drastic move by the MCA president in deciding to put young faces, and at the same time that he's saying, look, I'm leading an example, I'm not contesting, so are my two vice presidents, they're not contesting too. I think it's a very bold move to take this decision, moving forward, putting young faces there, and in some cases, they are untested. There are some who have already served the area and the community for a while. While we term them as new faces, they could be councillors, they could be Barisan coordinators, and they'll be fairly known to the voters. So while they are termed as young faces, but they'll be quite known to the voters. So in these cases, this freshness, I think, is important and part of the Prime Minister's transformation plan. Now, coming back to the views that you talk about, Yap Yan Hon, he seems to be the exceptional case because he's something like 70 years old, if I'm not wrong. He's fighting somebody in the DAP in Serdang. From what I gather, the reason why he was asked to come back to fight this seat is because that he's popular in the area. This area in Serdang, it is said to be a Hakka area. You must be a Hakka if you want to win there. Okay, it's a very Hakka speaking area, and he fits in that area and fits in that criteria. And on top of that, the crucial Malay votes. The UMNO division in Serdang feels that Yap Yan Hon can gather the Malay votes, and they actually push and lobbied for Yap Yan Hon to come in. So that could be a tactical decision.
I think the focal point of the GE13 is going to be the battle for Gelang Patah, as you spoke earlier just now. Yeah. And the one-time opposition leader, Lim, is taking on the Menteri Besar himself in Johor. If you date back to 1990, I'm sure you remember the battle between Lim and Lim Chong Yu in Penang.
That's right.
I think it was the state seat, Padang Kota, in 1990. 23 years down the road, Siang is now doing the same thing he did in 1990. Who's going to prevail this time?
Siang has always been a politician who dared to take the risk. He dared to move on to an area to take on a big name. He has done that against Chong Yu. This time he's doing. I don't think he expected a battle against Ghani Othman. He felt that Gelang Patah, with his high percentage of Chinese voters, more than 50%, he thought that he would win it quite easily against somebody like Jason Teo, the division leader. Ghani Othman facing was something I expected. But still, in every election, I mean, we have covered him for a long time. Siang, when he faces a big battle like this, he always plays the sympathy card. He plays the underdog. he always says that, look, I'm in trouble, I can't win the election, which indirectly, from a psychological warfare, would send a message to the voters that, look, help me, give me the votes, my challenger, my opponent is much bigger, he's doing well, he doesn't need the vote. So he's very good at this kind of game. But at the same time, that if I'm not mistaken, Siang has lost 5 elections at state level or parliamentary level, 5 times I believe, to lesser known opponents. He has lost to Chia Kwong Chai, the then I don't know whether he was the he was this Rakan section, yeah. And then he has also been beaten by smaller names, right? So he's not that invincible, but at the same time that he's also a larger than life figure. I mean that Siang is an institution, that is a fact. And this is one battle I really would love to watch and really follow.
Datuk Seri, it's getting very politically hot in Selangor and Kedah as well, 2 of the frontline states for Pakatan. If you see, this Barisan seems to be preoccupied with projecting their so-called MBs in waiting. Namely, you see in Kedah, they have put up Mukris Mahathir for the state seat of Airitam. Do you think this is the correct strategy for them at this moment in time?
I think that the voters expect you to put a face that someone to lead the party. In Kedah, it's pretty obvious. Mukris seems to have been given that responsibility. But in Selangor, the names have just been announced, and that except for 2 division leaders, Noor Omar and Zin Muhammad, most of the old names at parliamentary level have actually been dropped. And at state level, we have so many new faces, and that assuming that the Barisan wins, then obviously there has got to be a new Menteri Besar. And the press, since the last few hours, have been looking at all the names. Many of the names are actually very unfamiliar to me, and I've been looking at them. I'm looking at a PhD holder, I'm looking at businessmen, I'm looking at corporate figures, I'm looking at lawyers, and looking at academics. So we are making a guessing game as who could be the possible Menteri Besar in waiting if Barisan Nasional succeeds in winning back Selangor. But at this time, I think it's still the early stage, and we are at the point of just playing the guessing game. Yeah.
Well, that's about all the time we have today, and we will definitely speak to you longer in another opportunity. And I would like to urge our viewers to keep tuning in to Switch Up TV to see and watch the latest developments. Thank you very much.
Yep. Okay.